Hey guys, Ryan here at Signature Edits, and today we're going to look at the difference between Lightroom CC, Lightroom CC Classic, and Lightroom 7654321. You get the picture. We're looking at the differences between the different versions of Lightroom out there, how to tell which one is best for you, which features each offer, and how they work. Let's dive in. Alright, let's jump into it, starting with Lightroom CC. This is brand new in 2018. Adobe said, hey, photography is getting a lot more mobile. Why don't we create one app that works across all a person's devices? That way, when they're out on the road on a trip, they can edit their photos on their phone, but when they get home, they can switch to their laptop. That's the idea behind Lightroom CC. It works on your phone, it works on your tablet, it works on your computer. Now, because it is a cross-platform device app, it means that when you edit inside Lightroom CC, you've got some limited editing features. Think Instagram rather than Photoshop. Instagram, you have some filters, you have some basic editing, but it's harder to do the nitty-gritty, detailed work that you would do in a full version of Lightroom. We're going to see this when we compare them a little bit later. Now, if we go down to our pricing down here, we've got 3 different plans available if you're looking at Lightroom CC. We've got the Lightroom Creative Cloud plan, which includes Lightroom CC and 1 terabyte of free cloud storage, so you can store all of your photos on the cloud. We have the Photography plan, which includes Lightroom CC, 20 gigabytes of cloud storage, and Lightroom Classic, as well as Photoshop. And then we've got the Photography plan with 1 terabyte of coverage. Storage, that is. Now, honestly, if you are considering Lightroom CC, I would just go with the Photography plan no matter what, because it's kind of a no-brainer. It's exactly the same price, and the only difference is instead of getting a huge terabyte of cloud storage, which who wants that anyways, you can start with 20 gigabytes, and if you need more, expand it later. And you also get Lightroom Classic CC and Photoshop, so this is a deal for $10 a month. Can't go wrong. All right, let's move on into our next option. Our next option is Adobe Photoshop Lightroom Classic CC. Now this is the most confusing and stupid name ever, but what it basically means is this is Lightroom as it always was, hence Lightroom Classic. I don't know why they insist on putting Photoshop in there, but why not? Let's make it more confusing, Adobe. Way to go. So basically, Lightroom Classic CC is just the most recent version of Lightroom as we've always known it. Lightroom version 6, 7, etc. That's all housed within Lightroom Classic CC. It just means Creative Cloud, the latest version of Lightroom. Okay, now if we scroll down and we choose a plan, we can start with our Photography plan, which we already looked at, or you can get some different plans depending on what you need. Personally, I would say for sure go with this Creative Cloud Photography plan because it includes Photoshop, Lightroom, and Lightroom Classic. So you can actually have a chance to play around with both yourself and decide. The last remaining option is to buy Lightroom for yourself outright. Instead of paying for a membership that expires at the end of the year, you buy this once and then you have Lightroom forever. It sounds like a really great idea, and for a long time this is the way I went. I bought my software and that way I had it. I didn't have to rebuy and keep paying month after month after month. However, I will say that the reason I've switched to Creative Cloud is because Lightroom is constantly being updated and adding new features. If you were to purchase Lightroom 6, you're already behind by a solid version, and that version includes new tools that aren't available in Lightroom 6. So you can purchase that for $150, and those are your options. Buy an older version of Lightroom that doesn't expire, buy a membership plan that gives you use of Lightroom, or buy Lightroom CC, which is like the Instagram version of Lightroom. Let's jump into the programs and take a look at the differences. So now that we've gone over the pricing and the different options out there, let's take a look at how the programs actually work. Here I've got open Lightroom Classic CC, which is Lightroom version 7.3. If you're using Lightroom 6, 5, 4, 3, they all look pretty similar to this, and the functions are very similar. The only difference in Lightroom Classic CC is we've got some new features that aren't yet available in the standalone versions of Lightroom that you don't have a Creative Cloud membership for. And then on the left here, I've got Lightroom CC. This is the new version of Adobe Lightroom, and I have to say I'm not very familiar with it, so bear with me as I'm going to be learning along with you. Let's start by adding some photos, see if we can drop them in there. No, we can't. First I add photos, then I'm going to select the photos I've got here and hit Review for Import. From there, I can make a selection of those photos, or I can just import all of them. We're going to add all of them today. And in they go. We've got a nice little grid here that lets us preview our photos, and to double click, I can make it bigger, and then I can do all of my editing, which is in this column over here. So I can adjust my exposure, my contrast, highlights, shadows, you name it. We're going to adjust the temperature, Let's see, maybe a little bit more vibrant, less saturation. Take our clarity up. So I am noticing that most of the tools that are available in the regular Lightroom are also available here in Lightroom CC, but it's just designed so that I can use this on a phone just as easily as I can use it on a computer, whereas that is not the case with Lightroom Classic CC. So let's keep going with this image. Normally with Lightroom, I would use the plus minus keys to adjust my exposure, but here I guess everything is drag and drop, or perhaps there's different keyboard shortcuts, I don't know. Add some sharpening here, and a little bit of optics. What is that? Lens corrections, sure. Geometry. Okay, so we can see that most of the same adjustments can be made inside of Lightroom CC. What I'm seeing missing here is camera profiles. I can't adjust that. I also don't seem to have an HSL section where I can actually adjust individual colors within Lightroom CC. Now it might be here, but it is currently hiding from me. Now here I've got my spot filters where I can brush on certain areas to affect just them. So let's say that I wanted to bring the contrast in these vines out. I could just paint on there. And let's say I wanted to darken the sky down. I could use a gradient filter. Just like that. And now this isn't the ideal edit for me. I'm just going through to demonstrate some of these tools. And then here we have a radial gradient. So let's say that I wanted to darken everything except for this couple. Obviously not that extreme, but by just a little bit. Like that. And then we have here, copy edit settings, show original. Revert to original, show histogram, show profile browser. Maybe that's what we're looking for. Oh, profiles. Okay, so that's different camera profiles that you can access inside of Adobe CC. And then if we look for our filters here, we do have some presets that we can apply. Hit here, and we've got some presets already, whether that's just natural color or high contrast, creative. So really quick, I'm going to show you how I would actually add in a preset. I scroll down here, hit these three little things, import presets, navigate to where I've got some presets. I'll use my West Coast, actually my Moody Vibes pack from Signature Edits. Hit import. And bam, just like that, I have a user presets folder, and I can apply these. Now these are looking pretty extreme, definitely more extreme than they do inside of regular Lightroom, so that bears some looking into. But for now, that is how I edit photos inside of Lightroom CC. So if I wanted to copy that, I could go up here, hit these three dots, copy edit, using my arrow keys, and then Command V to paste those settings across. Now this looks absolutely awful because I've accidentally copied everything inside of this photo rather than just copying the color. So those little settings I did with the gradient, etc., those have copied over as well, I am assuming, but I can't see any way to actually get rid of them. So what I am finding with Lightroom CC is when you're using it, it's maybe easier, but it's also harder in some ways too, because the options you're used to in regular Lightroom just aren't there. For instance, there's not as much control and easy access to the different layers that I've added on here. I don't know how I can delete a layer if I were to do this. Sure, this little circle shows up, but then if I copy it onto the next photo, how do I get rid of it? It doesn't seem to show up anymore. I'm also noticing that although this photo, it turned out really well, the presets are pretty harsh and they're slow to load. So if I were to hit Command V here, we've got a good 4 or 5 seconds before that preset actually comes up. What is cool is if I jump over to my iPhone right now, you can actually see that the photos have automatically synced, the edits are on there, and I can access these photos from everywhere. So that is very handy as a photographer who's on the go. I can edit my photos while I'm on the drive or on the bus home. I can get home and maybe tweak things a little bit more when I'm on my computer, but I don't have to worry anymore about, oh shoot, I wish I had access to my photos so I could upload them to Instagram right now. Now let's hop over into Lightroom Classic CC and take a look at how that works. Here we've got our library window. I'm going to grab my photos again. Sneak peeks here. Just drag those in, and I can apply, let's apply that exact same preset. Bam, Lightroom is importing, and you can see that it's working faster, definitely. If I head over into my develop window, which is where we actually edit our photos, you can see those presets have been applied. Here's before, here's after. So all I really have to do is adjust the exposure, and this time I can actually use my plus and minus keys to brighten things up and darken things down. Perfect. So you can see that for me, this is a lot faster. Now, what are the advantages of using Lightroom Classic CC? Mostly, things are where I know they are, and there's just more tools for the job. So I've got a lot easier access to all of these little tools. You can notice that compared to Lightroom CC, where they're very spread out so that I can get them with a touch screen kind of situation, these controls are a lot closer together. So I have access to my exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, everything within a very small panel. I've also got several different panels that I haven't seen yet inside of Lightroom CC, including my HSL. So let's say that I wanted to change the color of my greens. Well, I could do that very simply by grabbing greens here and dragging them around. Same with the colors of the oranges in this image. Or if I wanted to maybe add saturation to the greens, that's very easy, just like that. I can make my photo look absolutely awful. But the bottom line is I've got this panel here that lets me really intuitively change the tones inside of this image. Whereas in Lightroom CC, I can't actually seem to find an HSL panel. Maybe it's under color, let's see. No, we've just got temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. So moving down, we've also got split toning inside of Lightroom Classic. That lets us add some extra tones to our highlights and to our shadows. That's a tool that is not available inside of Lightroom CC. Our sharpening has just some more features. So if I hold down Alt and use my radius tool, slide it up and down, it'll actually show me exactly which areas of the image are being affected. These kind of tools just aren't present in Lightroom CC. Same with noise reduction, just more intuitive, more advanced tools. Let's say that, more advanced and more detailed tools. I can more accurately change my lens corrections, select from the exact lens I'm using. I can scroll down here and adjust camera calibration, which will again give me some more creative control over the tones within my image. I'm not doing this because this is a good edit. I'm just showing you those are the options that I don't seem to have available when I'm using Lightroom CC. So let's copy that over here, brighten things up. And you will also notice that pasting a preset is a lot faster inside of Lightroom Classic CC when you're using a laptop. Obviously on a phone, not going to be the same because Lightroom CC works really well on every single device, whereas Lightroom is only available for computers. Great, so going through, I can edit these photos really fast. And let's say that I wanted to adjust one of these photos with, say, a spot removal tool. Okay, I've got this weed in the grass, and I want to get rid of it. I can use my spot removal, just grab it like that, put it right there, and Lightroom will automatically replace it with a different area of grass. And just like that, that spot is completely gone. So here's before. And here's after. Pretty cool, right? Let's try that in Lightroom CC. So let's go over to this photo and let's apply that preset so it looks kind of the same. We had one warm. Also, what's interesting is these are definitely out of order. So that is the preset more or less. And if we were to go into, I assume it's the Band-Aid. It's called Healing Brush here. Select it. And sure enough, it does the same job. So you will see that most of the things that you can do inside of Lightroom, you can also do inside of Lightroom CC. There's just a couple of limitations, namely the HSL panel, some more advanced controls and features, and slightly faster loading times when you're using it, at least on a MacBook. So those are the big differences. Now, there are a couple of things in Lightroom Classic that are not included at all in Lightroom CC, and that's the map section, book section, slideshow, print, web, and library. Now, you could say that Lightroom CC does have a library. If I were to go back here and say, select this album, switch my view, yes, I've got access to this, and I can sort of organize my photos. Can I drag them around here? No, I can't seem to, but I can create a new album. So let's say that I wanted just the photos with the groom in them. I'd go and hit plus, create album, and go groom photos. Perfect, and now I've just got those groom photos. However, there are more advanced controls within the library section of Lightroom Classic. So if I were to go to my quick develop panel, I can actually batch edit these photos. And let's say I wanted to put the exposure up on all of them by a stop. I just hit that button and it's going to make everything brighter. Same way, I can darken it. I can adjust things like add some clarity to all of the images or take away clarity. Can't seem to batch edit very well inside of Lightroom CC that I can see. No controls there. It has to be done one at a time. Now if I go back here, I can do other things like add keywords to my photos so I can tag them. So let's go sneak peek, wicked tutorial, etc. And that's going to add keywords to the metadata in all of these photos. That feature also does not exist inside of Lightroom CC. Moving down to our metadata, I can switch things and control things like how I've rated my photos. I can add a creator, a copyright, sublocations, captions, all sorts of things that aren't available in Lightroom CC. I've also got a histogram setting so I can check the exposure on my different images, and different smart collections that I can organize my photos by, so I can select from all photographs, or I can put them in quick collections, that sort of a thing, and even publish to things like Facebook and Instagram from within Lightroom. See my tutorial on that if you're interested in publishing directly to Instagram from Lightroom. It's a really cool feature using a plugin that is available for free. Now, I've also got this map section, this book section, slideshow section. Slideshows is something that I actually use quite a bit at weddings. So let's say that I have my favorite photos from the end of a day and I want to surprise the guests at the reception. I can set up a projector or a TV and create a really quick slideshow with my studio's information. So let's go in here. And I can put a watermark on top of all of the photos. Adjust things like this to make it really fancy. And bam, Lightroom is going to create a slideshow, and I just plug in my TV or my projector, and those photos will cycle at the reception. That's a super handy feature. Or let's say you want to make a photo slideshow of your trip from Mexico or whatever. You can do that very quickly inside of Lightroom. Lightroom CC does not appear to have that same functionality. Lastly, I can do things like export for print and create custom presets, such as exporting for print, for web, for Facebook, for Instagram. I've got all of these different presets for exporting my files so they go exactly where I want them to. I can set a custom name to all of them. I can have them go to a specific folder. I can do things like organize the quality and adjust how long my photos are, how wide they are. I can add a watermark, all that stuff, which in Lightroom CC is going to be limited. So let's say that I wanted to export this. How would I do that? Maybe send to Facebook or save to JPEG. Let's make it full size, or even custom. Let's go crazy. So you can see that the options there for exporting versus the options here are very, very limited. And finally, one of the most important features that I do not see in Lightroom CC as opposed to Lightroom Classic CC is adjustment brush presets, or the ability to create adjustment brush presets. So let's say that I'm editing this photo and I like the vibe of this, but I just want to paint maybe his shoes, let's say, and make them a little bit darker. Okay, well, if I'm using my adjustment brushes inside of Lightroom Classic, I can go up here and select exposure for my little guy here, zoom in on his foot, and just paint just like that. Press O and I'll be able to see it. Perfect. Hold down Alt and I can erase where I've painted that I don't want to paint. You have to bear with this computer. It's trying to record a screen at the same time, so it's a little slower. Press O again, and let's say I want to darken it down, just like that. Now, let's say that I darken a lot of shoes. I can actually go in here, scroll down, and save current settings as new preset. I can save this as shoe darkener. And now, whenever I have a photo that I say, oh man, that guy's shoes are way too bright, all I have to do is open up my shoe darkener preset, which is saved here, and I can just start darkening shoes just like that. So with the signature edits presets, I have a bunch of presets I use all the time. Add texture, make the water pop, add enhance clouds, add a dehaze to an image, make hair and lashes pop out more, maybe enhance lips, that sort of a thing. I use these all the time, and they save a ton of time rather than going in here and saying, okay, I want a brush that does this and this and this and this, and I want a little more clarity, a little less dehaze. I don't have to do that every time. I can just go in here and say, oh, I want the shoe darkener, or oh, I want to just have the detail texture enhancer. And I can just paint on my mountains here, and I've automatically got that texture perfect just the way that I want it. In Lightroom CC, however, if I were to go over there, I can go in here, find myself a preset maybe. Where are the presets? That's so odd, hey? It's not really an easy program to navigate when you're first using it, that's one thing I will say. But then again, maybe neither is Lightroom. Go to presets, perfect, and I want a warm fade. And let's try and darken his shoes down. I have to go to brush, and I have to put this in manually. I also don't know how I zoom in on him. I'm sure I can, but it's not very... There we go, I can just use my trackpad. Perfect. Oh, but I don't know how to zoom into a specific area. How do I zoom down to his shoes? Nope, not there. Well, the point being the same. I paint on his shoe, and then let's say I want to darken the shoes in this image. Well, I would have to make a brand new brush, or just keep my settings exactly the same from image to image. Now, maybe there's a place here I can save my adjustment brushes, but I am not seeing it. So, what would I use Lightroom CC for? Would I recommend it if you're a beginner photographer just getting started? The answer is no, not really. To be honest, you'd be just as well off going with the photography package for $10 a month, getting this and Lightroom Classic, as well as Photoshop, and learning on Lightroom Classic. Because the beauty of learning Lightroom Classic is you can always go back to Lightroom CC. Use it on your phone, use it on a trip, use it when you just have some casual photo editing to do. But if you're trying to do something advanced, you're going to need Lightroom, if not Photoshop as well. Hey, I hope this was helpful for you. I know I learned a lot checking out Lightroom CC. It's definitely something I'm going to be using in the future, but for now, I am definitely sticking to Lightroom CC Classic for the extra features that it offers. I hope this was helpful for you. Really, the only person who can make up your mind is you, so make sure to try both of those programs out, see which one fits you better. And if you want a free Lightroom preset, you can check out the preset that I actually used in the video in the description below, download it for free, and I will see you in the next one.